You know that feeling, right? You're in a big debate about some huge global issue and you just wish you had a better way to make your point. Well, today we're going to crack open the toolbox. We are going to learn how to build a really powerful, smart, and persuasive argument on pretty much any big topic out there. Okay, let's get into it. So let's start with a really big one. Is military might basically obsolete in a world that's all about economic connections and global threats like climate change? I mean, this is a huge question. The answer completely shapes how entire nations behave on the world stage. So, where do you even start to form a solid opinion on that?
It's so easy to feel a little lost. I mean, you've got your gut feeling, sure, but how do you back it up? How do you go from just, saying what you think to building a case that's so compelling it makes people actually lean in and listen? What if I told you there's a system for that?
Well, we found one, and it comes from a pretty wild place: the official marking guide for the International Baccalaureate's Global Politics exam. Now, forget high school tests for a second. This thing is basically a masterclass in how to think analytically. It's the playbook experts use to judge arguments, and today we're going to make it our own. Okay, first things first. Every game has rules, and the great thing about this playbook is that it isn't about memorizing a million facts. Nope, it's about mastering a method for thinking with real power and clarity.
And this right here is the golden rule. The whole point isn't to win or to prove someone else wrong. The goal is to argue well. It's to show that you get how complex an issue is, that you can see it from multiple angles. And in a world full of hot takes, that is what makes an argument truly stand out.
So, here it is. This is the framework, pulled right from that playbook. Just think of it like a ladder to a way stronger argument. You start with a clear claim, you back it up with real-world evidence, then, and this part's crucial, you justify it. You explain why that evidence actually proves your point. But here's the real game changer. You explore the counterclaims. What's the best argument against your own? Seriously, acknowledging that makes your position so much stronger, not weaker. And then finally, you weigh everything to reach a smart, thoughtful conclusion. All right, enough theory, we've got the rules, now let's actually put this playbook to work. We're going to tackle our first big theme, the whole shifting nature of power in our world. So we're right back where we started, but this time we're armed with our framework. So how would we build a top-tier argument? Well, step one, you've got to lay out both sides of the debate. Now, what's so cool about this is how it immediately maps out the tension. On one hand, yeah, you could argue that our economies are so tangled up that war is just too expensive for anyone. And hey, you can't exactly bomb a pandemic, right? But then, on the other hand, the counterclaim is really strong. Global arms production is going up, and military force is absolutely still used to deter people and get things done. Right away, you see this is not a simple yes or no question. And this is a perfect example of that next step, bringing in the evidence. You could point to Japan's anti-military culture after World War II, or the massive global protests against the Iraq War as proof that military influence is fading. But to make your argument truly great, you have to address the other side, with an example like the Syrian conflict, where military power is still devastatingly central. A powerful argument doesn't run away from these contradictions. It runs right at them. Okay, let's test this playbook on another huge topic, one that really gets to the heart of our modern world: human rights. So, just like our playbook says, we start by defining our terms. Human rights are supposed to be universal, for everyone, everywhere. Inalienable, they can't be taken away from you. And indivisible, all the rights are connected. It's a really powerful, beautiful idea. But is it just an ideal? Is it just a fantasy in a world filled with harsh realities, national interests, and, power politics? Let's run it through our framework and see. The argument for yes, they're a fantasy is pretty easy to see. Critics say the whole concept is just too idealistic, and they point out how often politics and money get in the way. But the counterclaim is just as compelling, that progress, even if it's slow, is happening, that power is shifting, and that even just as a goal to aspire to, the idea of human rights inspires real action in the real world. So, what about evidence for that progress? Let's just look at one number: 147. What on earth could that be? That's the number of countries that have formally signed on to the UN Convention Against Torture. So here's the crucial point. While the ideal of ending torture completely isn't here yet, this number is concrete proof that global progress and agreement are actually possible. It's a promise on paper that helps drive change on the ground. Okay, for our final test drive, we're going to tackle a concept that really, really stretches our thinking. It's about a kind of violence where there's no punch, no weapon, and no single person to blame.
Let's just sit with this quote from the sociologist Johann Galtung for a second. What he's really saying is that when we have the knowledge and the resources to stop people from suffering, but our social systems fail to do it, that avoidable failure is itself a form of violence.
This idea has a name. It's called structural violence. It's the harm that comes not from one person doing something bad, but from the very way our societies are set up, our economic systems, our health policies, our social hierarchies, that lead to suffering and even death for some people that could have been prevented. And this, of course, leads to a really profound ethical question. If this kind of violence is real, do governments and institutions have a moral duty to stop it?
On one side, the argument is absolutely yes, that the main job of a government is to make sure people have their basic needs met and have equal access to resources. But the counterclaim is pretty stark, that there's no such thing as structural violence. It's just bad luck, or natural disasters, or individual choices. But see, even in this super philosophical debate, our framework gives us a way to analyze the arguments clearly, without just getting lost in emotion.
So, we've walked through the rules, and we've put them to the test on some of the heaviest topics in global politics. We've seen the playbook in action, and now it's all yours.
So here it is, one last time, your playbook for thinking clearly. First, know exactly what you're debating. Back up what you say with actual proof. Actively look for the strongest argument against your own, and only then, after weighing it all, do you form your judgment. This is the art of arguing well.
Look, this framework isn't going to give you easy answers, but it gives you a much, much better way to find your own. So the only question left is, what complex, messy, important issue are you going to use it on first?